This video is about your technical writing project, and after you've finished your items required and your foreword, your next step is to start adding your steps. Now, before we get to that point, let's make sure we have everything. Your document is all Arial in font, size is 11, your spacing for everything is set to double. Your title is centered, you have an items required, and you've put it into a bulleted list, not like this, not a numbered list. The reason you don't use a numbered list is because if you do this, notice that it almost looks like you need 1 ketchup, you need 2 mustard. Well, that's why you use a bulleted list, because it doesn't have a number, so there's no confusion. After that, you have your foreword. Your foreword is a very clear and specific way of telling people what they're going to accomplish. You do this so people don't start your project and then realize that it can't be done because they were doing the wrong one. So for example, mine says, by completing these instructions, you'll learn how to tie a necktie at the perfect position and length. There's a mistake though. The foreword is after the items required. Wouldn't it make more sense to have the foreword in the beginning so they know what they're getting the items for? To fix this mistake, you can 2-finger click and copy, then go up here and push enter once to push it down a line, 2-finger click and paste, or you can do Control V, and then you can delete this one that's a duplicate now. Let's add an extra space so people know the foreword has ended. One final thing is if you push enter one more time, now your foreword will be down a line so they know where it's going to begin, they know how the items required is going to begin, and you can scroll down. Now for your steps, you have to be 2 things. Number 1, incredibly specific. Number 2, you have to be grammatically correct. This includes punctuation, spelling, capitalization, commas, fanboys, Anubis words. Everything should be in the second person. Your sentences aren't going to look like complete sentences because you're going to be giving instructions. Most of the time we say something like, I would lay the necktie shirt pin and hand mirror down across the table. But since these are in the second person, it's kind of assumed that you're always saying, you must lay the necktie shirt tie pin down. You must unbutton. You must put on. But you don't have to write that. You can just leave it like this, and it's assumed that you're always telling people in second person. It should never be in first person. It should never be in third. So for my steps, I wrote step 1 and I capitalized the word step and capitalized the word 1, and I put a colon there because that way they know a step is coming. I made sure I had all of my commas where I needed them, and if I missed one, I went back and fixed it. The ability of the person doing the project when they're completing your steps isn't your grade. Your grade is all of these sentences. Did you use your quotation marks correctly? Did you use your commas right? Did you spell every word correctly? Did you capitalize the beginning of every step and put a period at the end of every step? Are they clear? Did you skip anything that's critical? That's what you're going to be checked on. You might find that you're going to have 50 steps. That's okay. It should be that way. When you get past step 9, this is something unusual. In English, 1 through 9 are always written out. See how I actually wrote N-I-N-E? Well, step 10 through infinity are all going to be just the numbers, the numerals 1 and 0. What you'll need to do is go through making sure you've got each step. This is something that you'll have to do by yourself. Another person isn't going to be able to help you because they're not going to be able to give you advice on what to do because this is your project and they might not know how to do it. You always make the assumption that the person who's going to be reading these things has never ever done anything that is similar to what you're doing, so you have to be incredibly specific. Look at one of mine. I actually say, put on the collared shirt as a normal long sleeve shirt. I bet there's people in this classroom who've never actually put on a buttoned up shirt. So I'm being very, very specific. Another thing is you could always use a piece of tape and number little parts. So instead of saying the top button, you could just put a little piece of tape and an arrow pointing to it and have it say number 1, That way they know that that's number 1 button. So you could say the number 1 button, which is a little bit more clear than saying the top button. Lastly, you could always insert images if things are very, very confusing. So I say lift up the collar. Well, I could just look up a popped collar, and I can probably get an example of a lifted up collar, and I can 2-finger click and copy the image, go over here, 2-finger click and paste the image, and then I can resize it, and I can use little buttons like breaking text, wrapping text. They all do different things. If I double click on it, it allows me to crop the picture as long as I push enter after. Double click again, I grab the little black line, drag it over, push enter, and then I can try to, let's do wrap text. Pull this up a little bit so it's right over here. There, lift up collar, and now when they're reading this step, they'll actually see what a lifted up collar looks like. And then I'll just tell them, see picture. There. So now they know as they're going through, this is what a lifted up collar looks like. And I could use all kinds of different pictures and insert them. I could even make my own Google drawings and paste them in there. You're going to continue to work on these steps, and I need a rough draft, which is something that means you've got everything in there, you think it's ready, but you want it to be checked for grammar, for spelling, for clarity. That's due on Wednesday. Once more, I need spelling done, steps done, capitalization, periods, everything done, all your pictures in there by Wednesday, and then I'm going to check it. If it's good to go, you'll be able to submit it as a final next week. If it's not good to go, I'm going to give it back to you, and over the break, you're going to have to fix any mistakes I highlight.